Hello, welcome back to the Mr. Arsenal podcast for the match reaction to the Arsenal 3, Liverpool 2. We are top of the league. This is brilliant. I cannot believe it. We are 9 games in, 8 wins and 1 defeat. This is brilliant. Can we just fast forward to the season and get the trophy?
If only.
Oh, if only, yeah. As you can see, I'm joined by Andrew and newbie to the channel, making his debut on the channel, Greg. How you doing, guys?
Very well,
thank you, mate. Good. Nice to meet you, Greg.
Nice to meet yourself.
Yeah, we'll just get into it. Got obviously Russ is in the chat. Very unhappy Liverpool fans in the chat. Says it's not a pen. Just got that debate later on. But yeah, we'll start with Greg because on his debut, and I want to get his thoughts on the game yesterday. And because we were chatting just beforehand, a couple of hours beforehand, and he called it in terms of Saka getting a brace. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on not just yesterday's game, but the season, how it's going so far? It's just seen unfazed by anything that's thrown at us. We're not. Again, I was saying last night, what was it? Twice we got pegged back yesterday by Liverpool, and years gone by, even doing that once, our heads would have been down, licking our wounds, feeling sorry for ourselves, and not. We're not having that this season. It's literally, okay, no, we've made the mistake or we've let them back in, whatever. Now we're going to punish them for that. And we go again. We rebuild, we go again. We fight until the very last second of the game, no matter what.
Most definitely. I think we're a different beast this season. I think what Arteta's done, as much as on the physical side, I think mentally, we're just in a different place than what we have been for many seasons. As you say, there was a time not too long ago that a game at home against Liverpool, you'd be saying, I'll take a draw. But that's not the attitude from the fans or the players this season. So the work that Arteta's done, the character that the players are showing, it's just brilliant to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Andrew, you want to add on to that? And what, again, your thoughts on the game yesterday as well?
Well, I mean, where'd you start on the game yesterday? Right from the first minute, mate. But yeah, I mean, we don't win that game last season.
No.
There's no way we win that game last season. As soon as they peg us back, I mean, even if we got it to 2-1 ahead, when they peg us back to 2-2 again, we just don't go on and win that game. I would almost be certain that we'd go on and lose that game 3-3 or 4-2. But we're a different beast this season. It's unbelievable. We have a never say die attitude. I mean, in the Aaron Ramsdale interview he had after the North London derby, he gave a lot of that away. He said it's just a fire inside, didn't he? And if the other team score, we don't care. Not in that respect, like as if, we want teams to score, it doesn't matter, but we don't care. It doesn't affect us anymore. We'll go ahead and carry on playing our football, and we know that we're going to get more chances. I mean, the stats after the game were just, regards to shots on target and the touches in the opposition penalty box. I mean, we had 46, and it's the second highest that any team has ever had against Liverpool since records began. And who was the other team? Can you guess? I wonder. It's really not a really tough one. Man City. We're the only other team that ever had more touches inside the Liverpool penalty box than we did yesterday. It was phenomenal. And just the attitude change within inside the whole club, which has fed back to us fans, obviously, as well. And everyone surrounding the club. It's just phenomenal in the last couple of years. It's just such a turnaround. It's brilliant. So yeah, I mean, we will talk in more depth about the game, I'm sure, as the show progresses. But from the minute one, we were on it, weren't we? I mean, there's a lot been said since yesterday on other podcasts and so on that we didn't have the best first half because we sort of slightly lost control of it a bit, from about the 20th minute onwards. But we're playing one of the best teams in Europe, and we weren't going to dominate the game from start to finish. I don't know what people were expecting. I wasn't expecting that in the slightest. I thought we had a bit more possession and control of the game than I was expecting. But they throughout that sort of first half period where they were dominating a bit, they didn't create too much. They didn't have many shots on target. They weren't ripping us to shreds or anything like that. We were sitting back as teams naturally do when other teams start to come onto us. But let's not get this twisted. They had to win that game yesterday. They were desperate to win it. They brought their A game. They put out a very, very strong side. 4 major attacking forces on the pitch for them, and we still had more shots than them, more shots on target than them. When does that happen really against a Liverpool side? So for all their faults they've had this season, don't forget the season they had last season where they played every single possible game that they could in every competition. They're a bloody good side still. Yes, they're in a bit of a tricky patch at the moment, but it's still a quality side with good quality players on the pitch. And they were checking out. I mean, midway through the second half, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, the manager basically threw the towel in by taking Salah off. I can't remember who the other player who took off was. Maybe Jota, I think.
Jota went off, didn't he?
Yeah. At the same time, and they brought on Konate and Fabinho, just to try and shore up shop at 2-2. Because we were dominating the game so much in the second half. It was honestly, I'll leave it there because I could just carry on obviously throughout for ages about the whole game yesterday, but give Greg a chance. But it was just phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, up to the sort of lineup, I was going 3-0 all the way. Arsenal win 3-0, and then I saw the lineup. Thought, okay, they'll score. They will score. It'll be 3-1, but they'll score. And we barely got. Anyone, if you're watching it at home or at the stadium, you're barely getting in your seats, respectively, and the ball's in the net, and you're thinking, "What the hell is going on?"
It's almost surreal, isn't it? It's almost surreal.
I was so gutted. I missed the actual live goal when I turned the game on because I was rushing back, absolutely rushing back from my son's football match, and we just walked in through the door, just around literally bang on 4:30. By the time I got the telly on and everything like that, they were celebrating the goal. I mean, obviously I went ballistic, but I missed until they showed the replays. I think missed the goal, but yeah, I mean, unbelievable.
But look, I mean, obviously we start with the first goal. The way we just it was a first attack as well. Obviously, we get the ball. Sliema eventually gets the ball. He's going to try, passes it out, gets eventually to Saka. He runs down the wing, passes it Odegaard, and the way he just spots the run of Martinelli before anyone else, and just throws that ball through the defence. And the defence is, because the defence of what they are, what they've been this season, they just stood there. They've obviously in their positions kept Martinelli on side in the split second he needed to be on side. But it was sort of surreal to think it was made that easy to get through so quickly. And then obviously the second goal we'll get onto a bit later. It's pretty much similar. We sort of again just exposed them for the aging squad that they are becoming as well. But we've got to add that to the equation. This is an aging squad, with the third on average oldest squad in the league, and we were the second. We're the second youngest on average, going by Sky stats yesterday. It came up on the screen when I was watching the game, and but it was just as you say, it was just surreal to be on them so quickly. And there was that fear, there's obviously because I did a watch, and there's a fear in the chat that we scored too early, that they're going to upset them, they're going to come at us. And like you say, we did lose control the first half at one for a big chunk of that half. It was like, for me, I'll say it in the stream as well, it was like it's like the players were showing Liverpool the respect of the Liverpool from last season, the swashbuckling Liverpool that went, as you say, every game possible they could play, they played. And forgetting that this is, and for that brief 20-minute period, they forgot this is a Liverpool on their knees at the moment. And the second they realised that, we punished them again. And again, we've got that ruthlessness about us. We've got the end product now. Something we lacked last year, with all due respect to Lacazette and Aubameyang. I keep saying it, Jesus being in that attacking three now. This has not just helped us out in terms of having a striker that can help us out in scoring goals and creating goals, but it's helping out the lots of Martinelli play. He's going to his best abilities at the moment. Obviously, even get even better. Saka on the other side, you've got Odegaard who's got someone he can pick out as well. And even from a depth, from like sleeping and ping a ball all the way. So we've got options now, and it's refreshing to see. And I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'm losing. I'm not used to having these sort of positive chats this far into the season. I'm loving it. And I just say, I think it got to a point where at 2-2 in the second half, I was confused. I was like, why is he doing it? Why is he tapping out when he's got a chance? It's 2-2. It could have gone it could have gone either way if he really wanted to go for it. But it's like because of the situation, it felt like because of the situation they're in as a whole this season, that he's just like we've got at least a point here. Just try and protect it and get out of a point. Maybe I'm thinking before kickoff, maybe he thought like everyone else in the media outside of Arsenal. This start that we've had was going to come to a grinding halt yesterday because Liverpool come and Liverpool show up and do what they usually do in the last few years. Is this the beginning of the end for Liverpool in terms of this current squad? Because again, we spoke about it in the group chats as well. They're not a young. They're not. This ain't a young squad. I've mentioned it before. The third oldest squad in the league on average. They've got lots of the midfield pivot partnership yesterday of Henderson, Thiago, both 30 plus. Alisson Becker's hitting he's 30 plus. Van Dijk, Matip, Robinson, who was out yesterday, he's hitting his 30s. So most of their squad are pushing at the end of their time, their career was the peak of their powers. And we're just starting. And I think yesterday's result and performance from Arsenal and the players in general showed that there's a shift in power in terms of, as I say in the title, the young guns gunned down the old guard.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think as much as that the age definitely plays a factor, their big players just have not turned up this season. I think Salah in particular, a guy that a match winner, moment of magic, can change everything for Liverpool. Just hasn't been on it. And I think yesterday sort of epitomised that with him being hooked as early as he was. I think he got taken off at 2-2, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
Liverpool of old, like you mentioned, Andy, would have gone on and won that game. Getting back to 2-2, Arsenal would have crumbled. And I just think it's quite telling that either Klopp doesn't have the faith in the players that he once did. I don't know how big a miss Mane is. I know obviously that's a hot topic, and I think they're definitely lacking the quality that Mane brought. I thought Diaz looked good. Not that you ever like to see a player get injured, but he was having some success. So when he went off, that was quite notable. Not that Ben White wasn't doing a good job, but that was a good battle. But something's just not clicking with Liverpool this season at all. A lot of their experienced go-to players just are not performing. And I mean, already at this stage, with them being, as many points as they are behind us, let alone, where they're going to be, like with the likes of City, etc. You do worry whether or not they're going to be like a top 4 contender this season, because something needs to start happening for Liverpool, and soon, especially with the World Cup coming up. Something's got to happen for them, because they're going to be out of it like before Christmas at this rate.
Yeah, and my heart bleeds.
My sentiments exactly the same. I have no. After what I heard afterwards as well. After what I heard about the travelling fans yesterday after the match, no sympathy. Nope.
No.
I just think that every team has a cycle, doesn't it? And this is coming to their end, and you
mentioned that last year.
We've been saying for the last couple of years that we need to be ready for this. We need to be ready for when this City cycle comes to an end, which is very, very, very unlikely, or the Liverpool cycle comes to an end. The only way that the City cycle will come to an end is obviously when eventually Pep moves on and maybe a new manager comes in and can't quite get a grasp of all the egos he's got there in the dressing room or something like that, can't quite get it to gel, and then they have to find someone else and someone else. But we knew that the Liverpool cycle was coming to an end at some point, and we had to be ready. And it looks like we're ready. That's the most exciting thing. I think the way things are going right now, you can't argue with the fact that we could be the ones that have already taken over Liverpool in the race to sort of try and keep up with Man City, because that's what all it is now. Let's face it. With regards to title race, I mean, Liverpool have been done incredible things the last 4 seasons or more, getting over 90 points, but they've only won the title once. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like we are the team that were ready and timed it perfectly to take over their mantle now. But yeah, I mean, Greg, I've said it before. So, but with regards to Salah, I think that the biggest mistake they've made is giving him so much money. I think he's got what he wants now. He doesn't have to play for a new contract anymore. He's settled. He's set for life. Obviously, 400 grand a week. You know, he hasn't got to try anymore. And I'm not saying that he's not professional enough not to try, but when you've got a burning hunger inside you to prove to the world that you are still there and you still warrant this new contract, you're a different player. It's just
no, I fully agree.
Yeah, and now he's got it. They're stuck with him. I mean, he's 30 plus, or just a 29, 30, something like that, and they're stuck with him now for however many. I think it's 5-year contract they gave him, wasn't it?
Gave a big contract as well for his age.
400 grand a week, reportedly. I think that's what I've read, and
plus bonuses.
they've got an Özil slash Aubameyang situation on their hands now. No one's going to take him off their hands. So
let me get that violin out 1 second.
Yeah, exactly. We've been there. But to actually rebuild that Liverpool squad is going to be a massive, massive undertaking. They have got some good young players coming through, and I don't want to. We've been talking for the last 5 or 10 minutes just about Liverpool, not ourselves, but I don't want to carry on too much longer. But they've got some good young players coming through. Are they going to be of the requisite quality that they're going to be replacing? It's up for debate yet. It's not. You know, it could be. But it's a massive job they've got on their hands, and whether that's going to be Jurgen Klopp that's going to be given the time and the money to do that, we'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, we can make hay while the sun shines as Arsenal. I mean, you know, we are the second best team in the country at the moment, and we're 14 points ahead of this great Liverpool side. So, you know, it's looking pretty damn good at the moment.
And if things go our way on this Sunday coming and we beat Leeds and they lose to City, that's add another 3 on top of that.
Yeah.
I think you even count Liverpool out at that point, don't you? If that does happen this weekend. I think even if we were to go on a bit of a run, I don't think we're dropping, especially the way Liverpool are playing. You just don't see where their next win is going to come from at the moment.
Well, no, what was it Paul Merson was saying last night as well? At 14-point gap already, Arsenal would have to lose 6 games, and they'd go on a 6-game losing streak, or at some point lose 6 games throughout the season, and still drop enough points for Liverpool to gain on us. And he doesn't see that them being able to do that already. No. And if you again, I was having this conversation yesterday before we ended the stream. It was if you said to us back in pre-season that you come full time against Liverpool, you'll be 14 points ahead of them and top of the league by a point or 2, whatever it is. You would have sent yourself to the loony bin. Whoever told it, you would have sent to the loony bin because you wouldn't have believed it because of how used to seeing Liverpool and what Klopp's made Liverpool in the last few years. You would never expect them to fall off like this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've got to go back to Arsenal. We'll talk about Arsenal now in terms of this is what Arteta's done, what Edu as well, and the people in general at the club, everyone that's backed and worked with Arteta since he's walked through the door, even in that troublesome period that we've had, getting to this stage. You've got to say hats up, applause to everyone, massive applaud and hats off to everyone that backed him behind the scenes and got behind him. And that includes Josh Kroenke, because we've seen in the documentary he does reach out. He is concerned for people and their health and mental health and all that. And he was going through that tough period as well. But he got behind the guy he hired. He didn't just panic and press the. And we're bearing the fruits of that joy now in terms of we've now, as Andrew said, we've built the team now. And the timing is just right. Where one of the top two has fallen off. Obviously, Man City. Man City's Man City at the moment with fucking the robot up front. But we've timed it just right to get ourselves into conversation, not just for a Champions League spot now. To be possibly the only team that pushes City now, makes them work for their title, not just walk away with it. And what better person to do it than the Pep Guardiola's former apprentice, basically.
I fancy our chances against them, genuinely, at the moment. No need to fear anyone, is there?
No, and the thing is, I know we've got to play Man City twice this season at some point, probably late, and more likely later on in the second half of the season in 2023, home and away, because obviously our home game was postponed recently. But I fancy us to get something, get 3 points at home and get something. I fancy have that, and this is the thing that I like now, that I can go into games no matter who we play, be it Liverpool or City. And I can get beyond my team in the sense of I believe my team can go there, go to their respective grounds, and get something, and make the opposition work.
And that's not something that, as an Arsenal fan, we've been able to say for the longest time, is it?
No, and don't forget last season, where we all know that we should have won that game against them at home on New Year's Day. We are a much stronger side now. Look at the forward line we've got now. I mean, we didn't have registered. We didn't properly have a forward during that period, did we?
The thing is, we've got a spine there. We've got a complete spine going through from goalkeeper all the way through now. We'd always have a spine, but it was never solid enough, basically, in the last few years. It was never
had rickets in it.
And we've got players that can come in as well that you're not cringing at or having to play out of position, because they're coming in and they're as good as the players that they're replacing. And I think that the squad depth this season is phenomenal. How Arteta has managed to keep the players that he wanted to, keep them happy as well. Because obviously there's players not playing at the moment, but there's no sense that they're not enjoying playing for the football club. You know, we're finally acting like a big club. We're not having to rely on, fringe players to come in and play in these big games. And yesterday, when Tierney comes on, I rate Tierney as good as any left back in the league. To be able to bring him off the bench, for Arsenal in the last decade, we've not had that quality on the bench.
No.
So as you say, I don't fear anyone at this stage whatsoever.
I mean, let's talk about that just for a second, so if it's all right, Ryan. I mean, when the first squad came out, before kickoff, I mean, what was everyone's reaction about, Tomiyasu starting at left back? I mean, I have to admit, I wasn't worried, but I was a bit shocked. I mean, I'm thinking Tierney's been fantastic the last few games. I think he's really back to his best, and I think his best is getting better since he's been learning this new role. Because, I mean, he's been tasked with doing this Zinchenko role at left back. And I said to Ryan, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, he, as each game's been progressing, he's been looking better and better in that position. So when the squad list came out, I mean, I was quiet for about 3 or 4 seconds because it really took me surprise. But I mean, what a masterstroke it turned out to be in hindsight with Tomiyasu. I mean, Tomiyasu, I can genuinely say, I don't think he literally put a foot wrong in the whole game. No. I mean, he was faultless, absolutely faultless and sublime. I think apart from Santi Cazorla, can you think of any other player that Arsenal have ever had that's more two-footed than he is?
Phenomenal, isn't he?
Phenomenal. In the Emirates era, not really. Let's be honest.
Honestly, I think he's just brilliant. I mean, that performance. I mean, I'm not going to do the old pocket joke about, all that sort of stuff. It's been done to death. But, I mean, no one got any change out of him, did they? I mean, Salah literally hooked at an hour into the game. Their best player hooked because he was just so frustrated. Just brilliant, honestly. I mean, what were you guys thinking about it when you saw that he was starting at left back?
I think every man and his dog would have put money on the fact that KT would have started at left back. I think it was the obvious decision to make, especially as you say, the way that he's been playing recently. You almost he deserved that start. And I think even if Zinchenko was fit, I think he would have pushed Zinchenko.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see Tomiyasu and you see you go straight onto Twitter just to get the feedback. And there was a lot of people doubting the selection, questioning the decision. But he's come in and bear in mind, he's not had a run of games this year either.
No.
I was up at the Emirates on Thursday, and we won, and he looked decent, but he was very critical of his own performance, and I like that from players. So it's not like he's had a run of 4 or 5 games to find his mojo. He's just come in, and let's not lose sight of the fact. I know that we touch on the fact that Salah's not performing like he was, and Liverpool aren't, but on their day, they're as good as anyone. So he had a big responsibility, and as you say, just fantastic. And he was playing out of position. That's the other point. He's 2-footed, but by trade he's a centre half or a right back. So again, that goes back to the squad that we've got, players that can play in a variety of positions. You're not worried when these players come in now. You're confident that they can do as good a job as the guy that they're replacing.
Exactly. I mean, technically, we had four centre backs in defence, didn't we, yesterday? And you'd never have known that. I mean, because the way they play, so dynamic. I mean, don't get me started on Ben White. I mean, how good was he as well? I mean, my word. Honestly, if Ben let's not get onto the Gareth Southgate debate either again.
I was about to say, if he's not in that England squad for the World Cup, playing for the top team in the country as it stands, playing in form, out of position as well, not even his natural position, then we all know Southgate got screwed us. But bloody hell, that'd be suicide. Honestly. That'd be suicide.
Well, you're getting to the situation now where you can't say he's playing out of position because he's one of the best right backs in the league.
But you know what I'm saying? He prefers to be in the centre back role. Whereas,
obviously,
even last season he was playing. Obviously, didn't have the choice in terms of every now and then he played a fullback. But it's now where it's from match day 1. He's not complained either. He's never complained. He's got on with his job, and look at the players he's gone up against from day 1. Zaha. Obviously, what was it? Diaz yesterday. What was it? Last week he went up against. He was doing something. Even though Son's not in the best of form over the course of the season, Son, not Ronaldo because Ronaldo's been benched from day 2 basically. But he's gone up against top quality players on that left wing coming at him. He's 9 times out of 10 pocketed them, with all due respect to them, and he puts a shift in. He actually puts it again, as I say, on the pitch and off the pitch. Even you don't hear a murmur of him complaining. And this is what we said about
dynamic as well.
The back end of last season we said this. Sorry, the back end of last season we said about El Neni. Obviously, a year prior to that, he'd been told surplus of requirements, going to find a new club. He fought his way. And I'm not comparing this. At this point, I'm not comparing Ben White and El Neni at this point. But what I'm going to go on to say is comparing. In terms of he got himself back into the squad, and he never complained. He was happy to be a squad player. He came out and said famously he wants to sign a new deal. He would take a pay cut to play for Arsenal, El Neni, and obviously he got the contract. And he's got on with it. I know he's injured at the moment, and then Rob Holding's another one. Sorry, good defender, good. He proved dividends for us last season when we called upon last year, but he gets on with it. He doesn't complain about being a squad player. He gets on with it.
Did you see him in the second half, warming up on the side of the pitch, literally giving everyone encouragement, waving his arms around and punching the air? And he was brilliant. Rob Holding.
When was the last time we saw that as well from the substitutes? I think it's absolutely brilliant.
What the hell?
Just that's me other phone. Apologies, gents. I don't know if you saw it as well, slightly off, but just talking about celebrations, the Zinchenko when he celebrated the.
I've seen the video. The penalty.
Absolutely fantastic. Again, I just think it just adds to the feel good factor around Arsenal at the moment. It's brilliant to see.
Yeah. It really is. Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Russ is in the chat. He's saying 5 league matches left before the World Cup break. how good would it be to be top during that period? That'd be fantastic. Just to piss off the media and Liverpool fans and Man City fans and everyone else. And the
Honestly,
Tottenham
I
fans,
hate
obviously.
hate
Just piss
World
everyone
Cup.
off. Just to piss everyone off to be top going to the World Cup.
It's the biggest
Boxing Day, top of the league.
inconvenience ever. I mean, it's just like the worst international break of all time, isn't it?
Of every season it could have happened, it's when Arsenal are flying high.
Oh,
Yeah,
It
exactly.
would happen when it would happen, yeah, as you said, when we're flying high, top of the league and pissing everyone else off. We had to suffer for a month and wait till Boxing Day. Yay!
Oh, it's just going to be so depressing.
Yeah, it is.
Especially with Gareth Southgate managing our team as well. For God's sake. God. I'd rather pull all my fingernails out with some tweezers like in what Gareth Southgate's England team.
It's more enjoyable.
Dear. I'll pre-record some games. We do some watch-alongs and pre-recorded games that happened like 10 years ago instead of watching the World Cup.
Yeah.
Oh dear, but it would be fantastic to be top of the league going into that World Cup hiatus, as they say. We're going to touch on it now because it was mentioned by our resident Liverpool fan before. I don't know if he's in the chat still, but first off, there's an incident. I don't think it was a penalty myself. I don't know if you guys will agree with me, but the Gabriel handball. Do you think it was a pen? I don't think it was. The reason I don't think it was, though, was because Gabriel was literally next to the attacker. His arms are close attached to his body. It's like that. He's got no time for the ball being.
Wait, hang on a second. His arms were attached to his body, were they?
As in, they're not like that. They're not doing the Sissoko in the Champions League final. Put it that way. No, he's literally on top of the defender. And he got no time from the ball being booted in his direction where his hand is to move his hand out of the way. So and it hits his chest anyway. And rolls off his arm, hand, whatever if I can call it. But for me, it wasn't a pen because of the main reason it was pelted so close to him. If he'd been 2-3 players away from body things away from Diaz. Was it Diaz that put the ball in? Either way,
Jota,
you know what? It hit his hand like that. But you know what? He's had time to get it away. He didn't. It's a pen. And the fact that he's so close, he's got no time to move his hand out the way from where it was. For me, it's not a pen. But what do you guys think?
You go first, Greg.
I personally think we got away with one there, only because similar incidents have happened and penalties have been given. If it had happened at the other end, I'd be screaming penalty. So, but my concern with that particular incident is, and I know what you're saying about his arms being connected to his body. I don't know why a defender needs to have his arms above his waist in that situation. I think the moment you put your arm above your waist and the ball hits it, you're giving the referee something to think about. I think if he gets the ball booted at him from a yard away and his arms are down by his side, then I think the argument is, well, where else are they supposed to be? But whilst they're up here, which they were, I think we got away with one. I have seen the video today. At the time, I didn't. Where the ball obviously strikes his chest. Now, I don't know what effect that has. Is it similar to sort of like the LBW in cricket? If it's sort of pad before back, does that play a factor or does that not make a difference? But
yeah, it does make a bit of a difference, yeah.
If that's the case, it's not a penalty. I just think if the ball hits his hand directly in that instance, I think it's a penalty, only because I'd expect one up the other end. Not that I think it's a fair rule, but I think if you leave your hand up here and you're not a goalkeeper, then you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I similar. I thought that in my own head, it shouldn't be a penalty because of the closeness of the situation and the way it hit his arm. And he didn't move his arm to the ball. His arm, yes, was up, but the ball hit his arm without him actually moving it towards the ball. So in my head, that shouldn't be a penalty, but I totally agree with you. I think they are given as a penalty nowadays, even though they change the handball rule every single season. So no one knows whether they're coming or going. What should be a penalty? Because remember, was it 2 seasons ago, everything was given as a penalty. It was just ridiculous. There's penalties for handball in every single game. But yeah, I don't think it should be a penalty. But I know that that because of the way I think the rule should be deemed. But I think we did get away with one. I think it's and I totally agree. You have to use the rule of if that was at the other end, how would I feel?
And you'd have 60,000 people going ape. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we did get away with one. But it's about time. It's about bloody time. We did get a couple of good calls. There's a couple of other situations where I think we could have had another penalty ourselves, in situations like that. But I mean, we were lucky on that occasion. I do think so. Regarding, let's move a quick word about the penalty we got. That was a really soft penalty as well. I mean, there's no getting away from it. But like Roy Keane just said, when you swing your leg in the just before this game that's on tonight, when you swing your leg like Thiago did, like that, and you make contact, then you are opening yourself up to give a penalty away. So there's a bit of stupidity there. Yes, it was soft, but he kicked the back of his heel. Plus, I don't know whether you guys ever play football and you get kicked in the back of the heel really, really hard. It fucking hurts. It actually really does hurt. It really hurts. Yep. So, I mean, I don't think... Jesus maybe put a bit too much on it, to make sure he got noticed and got a penalty. But I bet he was in pain. That does not go on, without pain, that sort of situation. So I think it was a bit soft, but I do think it was a penalty at the end of the day.
It's one of the oldest cliches in football, but if that happens anywhere else on the pitch, it's a foul. So just because it's in the box, I don't think somehow it should enter a new category of, was there enough contact for the player to go down? As you say, if you're swinging your leg recklessly, trying to win the ball in that situation, similar in some respects to Gabriel last weekend, you're making that challenge that you really don't need to make. You can't defend the indefensible. If you're going to put your foot out there and not make contact with the ball, then it's a penalty. And it's a bit rich of Liverpool fans as well, after the 3, 4, 5 seasons that they've had with a number of their players talking about soft penalties. It's very rich.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you what, if he'd swung and if he'd hit him slightly higher up in the leg, around his shin, his calf, or whatever, I think more people would have said, "Yeah, that's a pen." I think it's because it hit his foot on the back of his foot. It didn't look so bad to optics. I think the optics of it. I genuinely think that. I think if it had swung and kicked his shin or the side of his leg, it would have looked a lot worse than it did. But like I said, I've had it happen to me several times. It bloody hurts when you get kicked on the heel.
Let's not forget with Jesus. He'll be used as an absolute battering ram by that Greek left back yesterday as well. Getting smashed in the face deliberately, by the way. Nothing. Getting absolutely battered by this kid, and the kid's getting away with it constantly. So again, I think that's in the referee's mind. Like, he's let so much go. But like you say, it's as well. Thiago, like it or not, he threw his feet in the penalty box where he didn't need to. He hit the back of Jesus' calf, leg, whatever you call it. And at the end of the day, by the rules, it's soft, but it's a penalty.
Oh my God, what a goal.
Yeah, it's 1-1 now between Forest and Villa.
Ashley Young. Bloody hell, of all people.
Turning back the years.
Yeah, hope a bird gets in his mouth.
But no, I'm not. I wasn't really. Again, it was a pen for me. That our pen was a pen. They should have been. They should have been. It got to a point they should have been down to 10 men as well in that game. With I can't pronounce his fucking name. The Greek lad.
Tsimikas.
That's it. If the amount of challenges, the amount of times he was throwing either Jesus or Saka or Martinelli all over the fucking pitch like a ragdoll.
I mean, where do you stand on the elbow? I mean,
For me,
that's
that's a
sending off.
If you watch the slow, if you watch
it's a red card, isn't it? All
Yeah.
day he's endangering another player's safety.
Yeah, and if you
He
watch
did
the
it on
replay,
purpose, obviously.
you watch the replay. It's just like, as Andrew just said, he does it on purpose. He literally looks and goes.
There's a glance, isn't there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how VAR looked at him and went, "Nah, that's okay." And looking at the play, the fact that from that moment, the contact of the elbow to the face, and the fact that Jesus didn't get straight back up, he needed help to get back up. And thankfully, it wasn't serious enough for him to have to go off concussed. Because obviously, Gary O'Driscoll, our physio, went on and said he was just about okay to come back on.
I don't think he should have come back on. He was knocked out.
I had this discussion with somebody at work today who's a big rugby fan, and he said,
absolutely ridiculous, mate.
As much as you want him back on the pitch, you have to look at the player's safety, and the player's always going to want to play. Of course they are, but
Gary O'Driscoll as well, the team physio, the team doctor, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but he should be someone independent.
Well, so I'm saying he comes from a rugby background as well. In terms of,
he should be someone independent. He cannot let the player will be screaming to stay on. I don't think he should, but he'll be speaking to the boss on his iPad or AirPods, whatever. I don't think he should come back on, but he's saying he's fine, and the manager don't want to lose him off the pitch. Obviously, our main talisman, but you got to take it out of everyone's hands in those situations. He was out, and if he'd have had another knock on his head, it could have been pretty catastrophic.
Yeah.
So I just think it was really reckless, to be honest with you. We all wanted him to stay on the pitch, let's face it. But when you realised they weren't even showing the replays for quite a long time, were they? I mean, he was really knocked out.
The reason I bring that up is because all I've seen all day from Liverpool fans online is, how is this not a red card in terms of Martinelli crossing the ball in? Because they took the photo as well. They've stopped, pulled the video, screenshotted it, messed about of it, and put it online. And I'm like,
Spurs fans,
fans as well. Yep.
Spurs fans as well. I've seen Spurs fans do it. But I'm like, hang on, even talk fucking shite at doing it. It's pissing me off to the point where I went, okay, later on in the game, this happens. I'm talking about the elbow thing, the elbow to Jesus, or is it because it basically talks shite and all that? They're going, is this a red card? If you believe so, get in contact and all that stuff. We've got Liverpool fans and Tottenham fans giving it large as well. Like, how is that a red card? How is that not a red card? It's a fucking cross, and it's literally a coming together between the two players in the aftermath of the ball being crossed in by Martinelli. Was it malicious? There was no intent. It was complete coming together, accidental. No malice whatsoever. You cannot say that's a red card. And then as I said, I then came across the video of Martinelli Jesus getting smacked in the head the way he did. And I added talk shite in it. I went, are you going to bring this up then for a red card, or is it just because it's an Arsenal player getting hurt that you're not going to touch on? Because if it's an Arsenal player that causes a potential offence, you'll bring it up. And I'm just sick of the BS that we seem to get no matter what we're doing. We're top of the fucking league. And because we are top and doing well this season so far, it's like the media and all that. They need to find something else. They need to find something else to poke us with to get a reaction.
I think it just speaks volumes about us and how successful we are, that people just don't like Arsenal being near the top. I'm not going to say back. Arsenal are back. I hate that expression, but
no.
I think it just speaks volumes that the media, whether it's a hangover from the Wenger day, I don't know what it is, but it does seem as though they praise other teams, and yet Arsenal are that team that, the moment there's any type of success or things are going well, that they look for that negativity.
Were you there yesterday, or were you watching on telly like me?
I was on TV, watching via TV.
The commentary. What were your thoughts on the commentary? Because I swear to God, one of these days I'm going to launch my remote control into the TV, because as soon as the match finished, it was like all about Liverpool.
Yeah.
Nothing about no praise. I mean, there was you could hear in the tone of their voices throughout the game as well.
The disappointment.
How disappointed they were that Liverpool weren't winning. Driving me mental, mate. Honestly, I put something on Twitter about it straight away. I can't stand it.
Sky, yes. Go back to commentators in a sec because I want to get a petition going for Peter Drury to come to Sky because he's fantastic.
Brilliant.
Again, we need to get a petition going and get him back over
Tyler
here.
needs to retire now. He's so past it. It's unbelievable.
But again, there's videos going about Peter Drury because he was in the commentary for him, but see with Graham Lasso, and he's just every game we've seen this season, home or away, he does commentary for Arsenal. But he's a professional. He doesn't let bias or anything get in his way of his job. And he just speaks so passionately about the game, and you can feel that in his words and how he talks about it. He's describing the game to you. Whereas Martin Tyler, who talks about fucking everyone being fantastic compared to Arsenal. Arsenal is just it's just fucking so negative. I'm just fucking sick of it. I mean, Gary Neville, Mr. Manchester United as well, by the way. Going back to the penalty situation, he said we said it was a soft pen, but for him to say that's a soft pen himself, I'm thinking, you're the guy, along with your brother and others, that are to this day boasting about kicking a deceased man off the pitch back in 2005 up in the air, and boasting about it to this day. That's okay. And you compare the challenges you did on that day, by the way, compared to that. And you're going, oh, that's soft, isn't it?
He used to be a decent pundit. He's just completely lost it now. He's become a parody of himself.
Yeah,
Jamie Carragher, I think, he's got better and better. I think he's actually really good.
I think his analysis got put on him after what he did a couple of years ago with the Spitgate incident.
Yeah, exactly. But you have to take your hat off to him with his analysis. I think it's absolutely quality. I mean, I was watching Monday Night Football a bit before I was waiting to come on here, and he was doing the Arsenal game yesterday, and he's really, really complimentary about Arsenal. And it's not just that, but I think his analysis is absolutely spot on. Whereas Gary Neville, it's just gone rapidly downhill. He's just absolutely fast. He's a fast now.
Yeah, he doesn't hide his Man United bias either when it comes. When it comes to his old the rivalries he had as a player, he doesn't hide it. So Arsenal doing well and his team doing shit doesn't go well for him. And he's like, I've got to have a go at Arsenal somewhere. But what really pissed me off yesterday in Sky, John Barnes being the guest pundit on the day, and at the end, they're talking about challenging for Arsenal challenging for the title. He's there. You could see his face. He's like, no, you cannot say that. You cannot say that. No, top four, that's it. And I'm like, how biased can you be? Yes, we've just beat your team. Yes, you're a bit butthurt because of that. But you cannot say at this moment in time we are not in that discussion for the title because we are top of the league. We are the only team that looks to be pushing City for this title. Tottenham will do Tottenham. So as I say, it's just be us and City.
Even Roy Keane was said that before this game tonight on Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
he said, yeah, of course Arsenal are the only challengers to Man City at the moment. You know, someone else may come out of the pack, but at the moment, as it stands, it's Arsenal and City.
And it goes back to what I said.
Notice it.
Yeah, it just goes back to what I said before. Most of the media and the pundits of the clubs that like Danny Mills, or we all know he's Danny Murphy, Jermaine Genius, all these players that played against Arsenal when in their peaks of their careers, and when Arsenal were at their peak and bullying them week in, week out, they're that butthurt that Arsenal are now doing well.
There's a lot of resentment. There's a lot of resentment from these players.
You feel the resentment and the hatred, and it's just like, are you that bitter? Basically, you can't just hold your hands up and be a professional and say, you know what, Arsenal are at a point at that moment, are at a point at the moment where they deserve to be where they are. They're on merit, and what a fantastic job Arteta and the rest of that club have done to get us to this point compared to where we were when he walked through the doors and after Unai Emery.
I don't know why you give talk shite the time. I mean, I'd literally rather go and pick up everyone else's dog shit down the park.
That's it. It's just Laura. To be honest, it's just Laura Woods. I'm being honest. She's a gooner, so I've got to keep an eye out for her.
But
I stopped listening to that about 6 or 7 years ago. I think it was. I just couldn't take it anymore. One day I thought, Why am I listening to this shite? It's the most anti-biased Arsenal thing you can ever come across, and every pundit they've got is shite. I mean, but yeah, someone Nemeth said in the chat there, Micah Richards. He's a fantastic pundit. I love him. Very good.
He's been a fantastic pundit since the day he walked into the job. He's never shown a bias towards anyone, even though he's even though he obviously he's a Man City player, he sees himself as a legend and all that, and because he was a part of that time where things are switched from Man City to go to where they are now. He'll be, if they're playing crap, he'll be brutally honest. He won't hide sit on the fence or nothing. He'll be brutally honest. If an Arsenal at the moment are doing well, so he's being brutally honest. And he's saying no, he's been good. He's one of them ones that have been honest from day one about us. But there's others so
he made that comment, didn't he, about how when it's Arsenal, and he really went to town on a couple of other. I can't remember the setup that he was with.
It was after the North London derby got postponed last season, the away one.
That's right, yeah. And he just sort of said it does always seem to be Arsenal, doesn't it?
Because Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher had a kick-off because obviously they weren't getting their payday. They weren't going to get paid because that game got called off at the last minute when it did. And they had a massive bitch fit because it was Arsenal doing it. Everyone else was doing it at the time before us, but as soon as we do it, and he just got to the next, and it was the next week, and obviously it's the next weekend, the matchday weekend, and he just said, I don't get why Arsenal get this special treatment where when I say special treatment where they do something, it's blown up out of proportion and they're attacked left, right, and centre.
Yeah,
anyone
exactly.
else?
That's right. I remember now. Yeah, when we had
that's
the game.
That's why I like Micah Richards, because he says it how it is. He doesn't hide. He doesn't have any bias. He doesn't.
He's been right from the early days. He's been very complimentary about what Mikel Arteta's been doing at the club as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think over and above anyone else, all of his colleagues, he's pipping us for top four.
No, exactly.
So he just says it as he sees it, doesn't he? He's not got any airs or graces around
no agenda with him,
certain clubs.
As you say, he's no agenda. It's just he sees it. He says it as he sees it, and he does. He rubs off the likes of Gary Neville and Carragher were now on the side of each other. Rubs them off the wrong way, but I don't give a shit. I'd rather have someone like Micah Richards who's on actually saying how it is about any and everything. Basically, just being talking like a football fan, not just being. I mean, Graham Souness today as well, complaining about the penalty and their one that wasn't given. Oh, surprise! The ex-Liverpool man gets upset that his Liverpool team's playing bad at the moment and taking it out on Arsenal. Oh, some shock over there. It just does my head in. Can people just, in the media, stop complaining, put your agendas to one side for a brief moment and look at what's happening at Arsenal and actually give us some fucking praise, and don't dictate to us, the fans and the club, respectively, how we celebrate our wins, no matter who we play. We will celebrate how we want to celebrate. If you don't like that, switch the TV off and shut up. Don't say anything.
Exactly.
If you say anything, we're going to come at you.
Couldn't agree more.
Oh, dear. Rant over. Oh, dear.
We've hardly spoken about the actual game, have we?
Bits and bobs, the main topics so far. Saka, we'll get on to Saka in a second, but Colonel's in the chat says, if Diaz never got injured, would we have won? I think we still would have won. It's just been more difficult than what it became in the end.
I love that bit where Martinelli completely burned Diaz in a race. They literally just set off, didn't they? Yeah, 100 metres race towards the ball. And that's what put paid to Diaz, really. He got injured there.
Diaz got a head start on that as well. In fact, Martinelli.
Yeah, I know.
Saliba had a foot race and caught up and paced him as well.
Honestly, I'm not going to be stupid about it. Diaz is a good talent. He's a good talent. But I honestly think, again, talking about the media, they have overhyped this kid massively. And when you look at the youngsters we've got, obviously such as Martinelli, I would never even consider swapping anyone for for the players that we've got. I mean, Martinelli for me is just. I'm not just being biased, am I? He's levels above Diaz, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm.
I mean,
Well,
Diaz is a
definitely.
good
He's
player.
still
I'm not
talent.
slagging Diaz at all. He's a good player, and they've done well to get him. But he is not as good quality as Martinelli, as far as I'm concerned. Does Martinelli get any of the press that Diaz gets? Honestly, they as soon as he touches the ball, it's like, oh God, he's such a good player. They literally go on and on and on about him ever since he's joined Liverpool.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't think it would have changed anything if he'd have stayed on the pitch. To be honest, I think we would have still won the game. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I think we would have won the game. It would have been had an extra player for X amount, say another half an hour or so, but we would have gone on and won. In my
I
opinion,
think so.
going on to that, I mean Saka. I mean, again, gets the second goal for us, gets the winning goal. And like we say about me, they're not because he's playing for Arsenal. He ain't getting the attention he does. If he was playing for anyone else, in his putting the performances he has been since he broke through, he'll be getting raved left, right, and centre.
Well, there's still people that put him alongside Sancho, who starts for England. I mean, it's just a ridiculous conversation to be had. He's levels above anything else that England have got, and yet he still gets sort of
Pushed down
bracketed with these other average players. I mean, what he's done this season, what he did, he's just constantly improving. I mean, it's scary to think how good he'll be when he peaks. He's still a young lad. He's still growing, still learning the game. It's frightening how good he is and how, from such a short space of time, from when he first burst onto the scene with Arsenal, how important he is to what we do. He's a phenomenal player, and like you say, I don't think he gets the praise that he's owed. Really, he's been through a lot as well. Let's not forget the fact that during the Euros, he would have been at rock bottom. But for him to have bounced back out of all of the players, he's bounced back. He missed that penalty. He steps up yesterday. I mean, I can only imagine the pressure that he was under, but you would never have known. He slotted that penalty away. That absolutely fantastic. Just a great player.
Exactly.
And again, I think Colin mentioned it in the chat in the live stream yesterday as well. In terms of Saka, what a turnaround in a short period as well. Just over a year now it's been. But at the time when this sort of thing started in terms of him taking penalties for Arsenal, being our penalty taker basically, he's become back at Chelsea last season. When you think that his first ever penalty as a professional was that final, and obviously what happened, and then the abuse he got, and the mental fatigue that would have taken out of him, not just because of the abuse he got, but being so young and not maybe having at that moment in time the support of the networks around him on the pitch, as in the manager, because the manager of Southgate, what Southgate is, for him to turn his life off, he didn't have to. It was to take that on the chin, like the others, take that on the chin at 19, take all that thing, take it on the chin, and use that and make yourself and go out your way to prove people wrong even more. All them idiots that are out there go up. Oh, you keep saying what you got to say because I'm going to stick it to you, and this is how I'm going to do it on the pitch. And then from literally, as I say, Chelsea away last season onwards, to take that penalty in that moment as well at 3-2. I know it was near the end of the game as well at the time, and then stick it away. And ever since then, whenever we get a penalty, he wants to take it. To have that mental ability to take a moment that must have been so raw and painful for him in so many ways, not just because of the abuse he was getting from idiots online, and turn it into a positive now and use it as a way to be better. You got, again, for a kid that's what was not at 19 at the time, now 21, this kid. And as I say, you've got to give him massive plaudits, and plaudits not just to him, but also to the lots of Arteta, his family, and everyone around him that's got behind him from that moment. and shown him the support that he would have needed to get to that point. Because what was it I watched the Amazon documentary, talking about Saka and basically how the media, and Arteta mentions how the English media love to build someone up and then just chuck him to the floor and just tear him to pieces in one moment. And I think that him knowing, obviously, Arteta with that knowledge, with everything, and then went on before back in the summer before that season started, clearly got the right team behind Saka and helped him and got him through that tough period. And again, I can't say it for a kid. He said a kid who carried this team for the first 2-3 years of his career. He's now got a bit of pressure taken off him because we've got fantastic players around him now, and he's still the talk of our team in terms of he's come from our academy. He's the star boy, and I think that really irks. We've seen it as certain rival fans on other channels. It really irks them that we call our player like Saka star boy. Oh, he's not a star boy. Arsenal overrating him. We see him week in, week out, be it in the stadium or on the TV. We see it week in, week out what he is. And the sooner rival fans need to put the rivalry aside for a second and watch him. Just watch him and see what he's all about. And you understand for him to come through what he came through to get to this point, you can't fault it. And yeah. I mean, what have you think to add to that, Andrew, in terms of what that penalty, as you said, the pressure he must have been under, slotted it away perfectly, like you said. But it seems that it all goes back to that moment back in summer last year. That everything goes back to that moment, and he's harnessed that with the right people around him, and turned it into a positive.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the penalties he scored since. They've all been against big clubs, haven't they? I think Chelsea.
Chelsea,
was it Man United?
Chelsea United back to back.
Yeah.
Then one small game against Tottenham, and then yesterday.
Exactly. So Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, and Liverpool. He scored. When's the right time to forget what he did for England? In that last game. I mean. Is he not due to a bit of respite now from that, being reminded of it consistently? His mentality is elite. He's got an elite mentality on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. That moment, that painful moment he was going through, him and the team around him used that as a positive and turned it into a positive now. But as you say, why can't people just let that go? And just appreciate the talent we've got as a country.
Yeah, I mean, England fans and people like that, weirdos, under Southgate. No, I mean, it's always going to be remembered for the rest of his life. You can't get away from that because it was a massive moment in international football for England. The final kick, literally, of the Euros when in the final, and. Will we ever get that far ever again? I don't know, in any kind of competition. We may do, but maybe another long, long wait. So it's always going to be remembered. But especially us as Arsenal fans, I mean, I think we've moved on from that. I mean, I've never really thought about it much. I just see him goals away and scoring the penalties that he's had since. But what is easily apparent is, like I just said a couple of minutes ago, he's got an elite mentality, that kid. You cannot underestimate the weight that he had holding onto the ball, having other Liverpool players come into his face. I think Virgil van Dijk at one point was giving him lip.
He tried to grab the ball off him, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And to just brush that off, it's just amazing. You can't praise him highly enough for that sort of side bit of his game. And I think I heard on a podcast this morning he's got 7 goal involvements. He's got 3 goals and 4 assists in 11 games. Ain't too shabby when he's really under par, is it?
That's right.
What's going to happen when he's actually what's going to happen when he's par and exceeding par, under par. So yeah, you can't praise the kid high enough. Honestly, he's just outstanding alongside a lot of our other players, and the forgotten man almost, which is I feel sorry for. And we had this conversation a week or two ago, Ryan, is Emil Smith Rowe.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, but stand by what I said before, that he could be our secret weapon in the second half of this season. A really fit, pumped up, motivated Smith Rowe, when he comes back into the team, could literally be our secret weapon come the new year. Look what happened when he came in the beginning of last season.
Hit the ground running, didn't he?
I mean, my word, 11 goals was it, I think. And if he comes in and does something similar after Christmas, when everyone else may be flagging, he could be outstanding. So the young players we've got, I would not swap them for any other players in the world. I love them, and that same could be said for pretty much the whole team at the moment, right the way through to the fringe players, like we said earlier, Rob Holding on the side of the pitch, pumping his fists and getting everyone fired up from us. It's just fantastic to see. So yeah, it's just wonderful. But regarding Saka, I said it. I do think he's getting back to his best now, Saka. I really do.
Yeah. And Russ said in the chat as well, he says, I think Vieira will have a big second half of the season as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he's a quality player.
What we're saying, you can't dispute that either. He does also say in the chat as well. Go on, get gone.
No, I was just about to say, with Vieira, you almost, not that you forget about him, but because of how well Odegaard's playing and the other creative players, you have to pinch yourself to think we've got another superstar talent on the bench in Vieira. Going back to the squad depth, almost unheard of, certainly in the last decade, that we could look to the bench and see that array of talent, like for like players that are genuinely pushing other players to become better. I don't think there's one player on that pitch that truly believes that they're a dead cert every game. Yes, Arteta's gone with similar lineups because of how successful it's been, but I don't think anybody's sitting there thinking I can just be a passenger. Everyone's pushing everyone, and anyone that comes in is saying, I want a bit of this. No one's coming in, not really performing. Everybody's performing. It's just great to see. So definitely Vieira, I think, has got a big part to play, not just in the second part of the season. I think just this season alone, I think he's already shown that he's capable in this country. He doesn't look out of place. I think there's question marks over, he might be a little bit lightweight. I'm not seeing that. I think he's come in and done what he's needed to do at this stage.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to that worry about his body type. I won't go all again. I've said it before, but I just think he's a robust player. I think he's always, he'll just get himself up and dust himself off. He's been like that all his life, I'm sure. So I've got no issues with that at all. No issues with his size. I just think he's a tough cookie.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Russ is saying also in the chat, I have concerns about Gabriel Magalhaes. I don't think he is maintaining concentration levels during matches. But the thing is, whilst we're winning, until it starts costing us wins, basically, if we're losing, if it starts costing us in terms of we start losing, that's when I think we might see a change in Gabriel. Maybe in terms of take him out of the squad, take the pressure off him a bit, move Ben White over, Tomiyasu if we can, things like that. But whilst we're winning, I don't see Arteta changing that, and I think that again that's another reason why we're seeing Gabriel play midweek in terms of the Europa League because of out of the two main centre backs at the moment this season in terms of him and Saliba. Saliba's, as we've been saying every week, he's above and beyond, and he doesn't need to play into form. Basically, he doesn't need to worry about certain things out of his game as of yet. Touch wood. Whereas Gabriel, as you say, about concentration, little mistakes here and there, he needs to play them out of the way. And I think Arteta's mindset is him playing in Europa League. Hopefully, that extra game or so will hopefully knock their mistakes and get him, as you say, as the comment says, his concentration level to a high where him and Saliba and Singh, because as it stands, Saliba's concentration, we got no doubt about Saliba in terms of his concentration levels. He is on it from the get go. He's always covering not just Gabriel and others if they get caught out as well. So imagine if Gabriel can actually catch up with him in terms of concentration levels and how solid we would then be as a back four. But I say I don't know about you guys. I don't see Arteta just pulling him out the squad, not out the squad, at the 11, whilst we're winning, because he doesn't want to accept the harmony within the team.
You go, Greg.
I was going to. Well, it just goes back to you don't change a winning team, do you? And I think part of Gabriel's game will be that he has a mistake in him. Fortunately, at the moment, we're able to overcome them, whether it's giving away a penalty, etc. I mean, the touch yesterday, he has to try and attempt to play that ball. He has to try and get something on it. It's unfortunate that the ball obviously goes through and Liverpool go on and score. But I think on the flip side, what he brings to the team far outweighs that sort of moment of madness, if you like, or that lack of concentration. I think he's such a physical presence. I think he really complements Saliba. Very good in the air, strong, athletic. Loves playing for Arsenal as well. I think that's clear to see. His relationship with the fans is amazing. I think in the first half he was trying to pump up the fans, and they all reacted to it. So he's an Arsenal man already. I think he's a great player. Like some of our best centre halves, I think that they've always had that 89 minutes worth of concentration and that 1 minute where they can switch off. And it's unfortunate if that's a midfielder or an attacker and they don't trap the ball, they don't control the ball, it doesn't really get looked at. But because it's a centre half, much like a goalkeeper, that one mistake often leads to a goal. I think that's just going to be part of his game. But I definitely think what he brings to the team far outweighs the odd mistake.
100%. And I dread to think what careers Tony Adams and Martin Keown would have had if Twitter and social media and podcasts had been around back in that day.
It.
The amount of mistakes I used to see them make all the time, it was ridiculous. Especially when Tony Adams came through the team to start off with.
Yeah.
He had the nickname the Donkey, didn't he? And because he kept making mistake after mistake at some point. But he is well renowned as being our greatest defender of all time. He would have just been constantly criticised non-stop. This kid, you've got to give... I totally agree with everything you just said, Greg. It's really nice to hear because I just think that he's just so much under the microscope. And why can't we support every player in the team equally? Why is Gabriel getting treated so much more harshly as William Saliba when William Saliba is also making mistakes in each game that he's playing so far?
Yep.
Why? Why does that happen? Why can't we be equally supportive to all of our players? Why do we have to have a favourite and the other ones are all competing against each other? I just don't get it. Support them.
You've got to remember how young Gabriel is as well. He's still a young lad. He's learning his trade.
For a central defender, he's very, very young. Very young.
Yeah, and he's young, he's raw, but he's going to get better.
I was saying about Tony Adams and Martin Keown. I think they are a very, very similar partnership, Saliba and Gabriel. Gabriel is like the Martin Keown. I heard, might have been Clive say it, and I thought, you bang on there. Martin Keown he was like a real... obviously he was just called the Rash, wasn't he? Like his nickname. He was all over the place. He was regressive. He was really high on his. I can't think of the bloody word. He let his emotions emotional. He was a very emotional player. That's the word I was trying to come.
Wore his heart on his sleeve, didn't he? Put everything.
He let things affect him.
Yes,
he let things affect him during games. Gabriel, I think, is very, very similar, whereas Tony Adams was a lot more, in lots of cases, more like William Saliba. I think he was a bit more fiery than William Saliba, but that it was.
Calm,
I've said
cool,
this.
collective, yeah.
Yeah, again, like I said a couple of weeks ago, good cop, bad cop type of thing. One of them can't. Yeah, it's a very good partnership. So I think that they complement each other brilliantly, and I just think we need to give him some slack. He is still learning his trade at his age, and he's performing against some excellent. Yeah, obviously it's the biggest and best league in the world. Playing against the best team, Liverpool yesterday, best team in Europe. With top four best teams in Europe, possibly even maybe top three for what they did last season. Tottenham the week before, and however much we hate him, they're still a decent team managed by a good manager with some it's amazing forward that he was coming up against. He had to go for that ball as well. We said, after the North London derby, if he hadn't made an effort to try and stop that strike by Richarlison, everyone would have said, why did he not make an effort to stop that shot by Richarlison? He couldn't win, So I just think we need to back him. If the mistakes he's making as well are not like Mustafi mistakes. They're not like some of the David Luiz mistakes we've seen in the past. They are things that can be ironed out through time. Yes, he should. There's things like letting the ball bounce, blah blah. It happens from time to time, but the mistakes he's making are not being. No one's talking about all the amazing stuff that he's doing for 90% of the game, 95% of the game. He's playing brilliantly most of the time. He's made one or two mistakes. If it gets worse and worse and worse, then obviously they would have to have another look at it, in a while. We've got nothing to worry about because we've got some fantastic players to come in and take his place, like Tomiyasu, for example. So we haven't got anything major to worry about at the moment. We're winning. They're creating a really good partnership. Just back him and see where it takes us, because I really rate him as well. I think he's a great player. He's much better than so many central defenders we've had in the past. Much better.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And just touch on Gabriel, the mistakes and all that. Fulham, I can't remember what match day it was now. Match day Fulham, match day 4? I think it was. Fulham at home this season makes a mistake. Not just the fans got behind them, but the team put their arm around him, said, "Don't worry, we'll get through this." And he goes on and scored a winning goal, and they all come over and celebrate with him.
He's got great mentality. He doesn't let his head drop, does he? Once he does make a mistake, he makes it right.
Exactly, because that's having the right, not just the players on the pitch at the time, but in terms of day-to-day training, you've got the right team around you, the right people around you to build that mentality in your head where you say, if you make a mistake, don't worry, you dust yourself off and go again. Whereas too many years gone now, we've had, especially since the Invincible season, the 03-04 season, and that squad got dismantled over the next few years afterwards. Look at the sort of dross we had to put up with: Scalacci, Socrates, Mustafi, Senderos.
You really have to remind us.
But this is my point. We've gone through all that. We've got something to a point now where we've got not just a fantastic partnership in Saliba and Gabriel, but in general we've got fantastic defenders. But because of one is that way and the other, so to speak, everyone sort of jumps on the other, even though the mistakes he is making aren't really that catastrophic, because they're not really affecting us in terms of our result in the end. And as you say, as they come together as a team, they dust themselves down and they go again. They never give up. They never say die attitude. And it's getting stronger and stronger game by game. The more we win, the stronger it's getting. But by the looks of it as well. So
it's still a young partnership in terms of them actually playing alongside each other as well. They've played less than 15 games together, so they're still learning each other's game as much as anything else.
11, isn't it? I think. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
No, it's less than that because they haven't played like the
European ties.
European playing games together. Yeah,
European ties together either. And again, probably the youngest partnership out of the teams that are in Europe this season. And look how we're doing so far compared to others. I
really wish people could just get behind all of our players.
Yeah.
And it's cut out with this stupid playing one player off against each other. Like like at the beginning of the season, it was like the Saliba versus Ben White debate and all this sort of stuff. Just it just tires me out sometimes. Just
fortunately, it's the minority as opposed to the majority, isn't it? So you're always going to get those individuals that are going to say things just for the likes, just for the clicks. I think real fans are happy that we've touched on it already, that we've got this depth now that we never had. We never had that level of competition in our team. You'd have your first and second choice centre halves, and then the rest of the team, you sort of think, Jesus, if he comes in, we're in trouble this week. I don't feel that at the moment.
No. And it's only going to get better. Like I said, with Smith Rowe coming back as well, add him to the bench. I mean, it's going to be even better, going forward. It's just phenomenal. And like I said like I've said before, Greg, can you ever even think that last season, if you thought that this season, Tomiyasu and Tierney were going to be our reserve fullbacks?
Not a chance.
They were two of the first names on the team sheet, weren't they, last season? When fit.
Big time. Yeah. Big time.
It's mad. Yep. It's mad how it's changed over one season. It's phenomenal, really.
And it's not because they've dropped off.
No.
At all. It's just that competition for places
is even
just brilliant.
Yeah, even stronger now. Yeah. Oh dear, got the Arsenal miss. Pick up to Steve in the chat. How you doing? I hope you're keeping well, my friend. Before we go, we're going to touch on midweek. We've got away midweek to Bodo Glint. It's going to be another win for us at midweek going into Leeds. And how do you guys see Leeds going as well? Both away, by the way.
It's going to be tough. They're always a tough team to play against. Not quite as sort of quick and pressy as they were before, Leeds, but they've still got some very good players. Got lots of pace in their side, so I've got to be careful. But I fully expect another 3 points. To be honest, anything can happen. Do you know what I think? The weird thing is, I've got a really weird feeling that Liverpool might turn over Man City this weekend. It's a sort of game that Liverpool might win.
You can see him doing it, can't you? You can see him doing it.
Something has to give us past them at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them at all. So I'm not banking on it, but I just got that weird feeling that it might be one of those weird things that might kickstart Liverpool again or something like that. But
don't we play before?
I think we'll. Sorry, go on.
I was saying, I think we kick off before as well. I think that's the main event on Sunday, isn't it? 4:30 kickoff in Liverpool v City. So we could potentially, obviously, we do our job at 2:00. Going into that game, we could have a 4-point gap basically, and hoping then suddenly we're all Liverpool fans for 90 minutes.
Yeah. Well, they're going to redouble their efforts again, aren't they? Liverpool, they've got to. Yeah. They've literally got to. So
it's to say, something in terms of the league, something has to give at some point. They can't keep going down this route of having eventual consequences to Klopp and anyone else at this club.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it will be tough against Leeds. It always is. But I do think we're going to win.
I think you'd be disappointed coming away. Would be disappointing with the way that we're playing and the way that Leeds are playing as well. That we would come away with anything but 3 points, and that's not an arrogance. I think if we're serious about challenging for the title, City don't fear going to Leeds, and I don't see why we should either.
No, but then Southampton go to City and get something like last season.
Yes,
or Crystal Palace go to City and get something. Like when we went to Palace, Brighton and Southampton and lost 3 straight games last season on the back of a really good run previously. So anything can happen, can't it, in the Premier League? I'm not being cup half full, half empty type of scenario, but just saying, I don't think there's any pushovers really at the moment. You get the odd freak result, and one thing is, I do expect us this season to turn over someone at least 6. I reckon we're going to get a real thumping at one day where everything's going to come together. I think that'll be this weekend, though. I do expect us to win maybe 2 or 3-0, fairly comfortably. in the end, scoreline wise. I don't expect anything less than a win. And
No.
Bodo Glimt is going to be really, really tough. It's going to be a completely different situation to last week because I think the stadium capacity is 8,000 and it's a plastic pitch.
Yeah.
And in the Arctic Circle, it's going to be a really tough game. Luckily, I don't think it.
Get the thermals
Even
on.
if worst case scenario is, and we even lost that game, I don't want to even contemplate that because of the momentum and everything. But I still think we'll win the group, which is a plus point. But it's not going to be an easy game, and I'm to be honest, I'm not looking forward to that one for the team. I mean, I'm obviously always looking forward to watching Arsenal, but the team are going to find it fairly tough, I think, in those conditions, in that stadium, on that plastic pitch. So fingers crossed for that one. I just hope we don't get any injuries because plastic pitches are notoriously bad for twisting your knee, getting your foot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's all I hope for. We get through that game unscathed. Really, that Thursday game. It's going to be not a nice one, to be honest, for the players.
I think we'll just have enough to get out of that game with 3 points as well. And personally, it's
I think so. It's just a horrible scenario to have to do at this time in this month of all months, with the amount of games we've got. To go and play in those conditions, it's not pleasant, is it? Really,
it makes you more thankful Man City got called off in the end.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
But again, I do expect probably a similar score, maybe 2-1, something like that. Maybe they'll get a goal. I do expect us to win again, but it's just not a nice trip to have to make in those conditions.
I think 2-0, 3-1 probably to us, either 2-0 or 3-1. I think it would be a 2-goal swing in it. I think as I say, we'll just have enough, even though the pitch is what it is and all that, and their fans are behind them. I think no matter what team, even the B team puts out, I think we just have enough to get ourselves over that line without having to rely on. Hopefully, he doesn't do what he did last Thursday and rest certain players at the start and bring them on for no reason. Especially if they're 2-0 up or something like that. But no, I think, as I say, I think it's be 2. I think probably more likely 2-0 actually. Thinking about it now actually, but Steve F is in the chat, says 3 points at Leeds and Bodo going to be more difficult as we need to win that game too. I think it'd be more difficult in terms of, as I say, the pitch being the most difficult thing of it all because you're adapting to something completely different that you're not used to. But yeah, we should. I mean, Greg, what do you think?
I think Leeds won't be easy, but I fully expecting 3 points. I would be disappointed if we come away with a point, which again is something that in seasons gone by you probably wouldn't have looked at. You look at a tricky away game at Leeds with a hostile crowd. A point's not a bad result there. Old Arsenal, but certainly the way that we're playing this season, fully expect 3 points. The midweek game, I would hope that he rests more players than what he did last Thursday. I must admit, I was a bit surprised when the likes of Jesus and Saka come off the bench. I'm thinking if one of these picks up an injury, how do you explain this one? Because there was really no need at that point. If anything, you want to give the players like Reece Nelson a run out earlier than what he did. So it'd be interesting to see who he takes over there. Because like you say, the conditions, the weather, the pitch, all kind of go against you. Should both be wins. Should both be comfortable wins. And then that sets us up nicely for the few games before, obviously, the World Cup.
Yeah,
definitely. I think we're sort of wrapping things up. Obviously, thanks to Andrew and Greg coming along. Greg, thanks again.
No, thanks for having me, guys. It's been good fun.
Yeah.
Hope you're on again soon, mate.
Most definitely.
Yeah. With your hoodie and mug, obviously.
I was just about to say I'll be sipping out the cup and wearing the hoodie. Don't you worry.
He's coming into hoodie season, so yeah.
Most definitely.
Oh, dear. Definitely. Assuming postal strikes don't screw things up, but yeah. But yeah, again, Andrew, thanks. You got your podcast tomorrow, haven't you, Andrew?
Yeah, definitely. So come over, everyone watching this. Please come over to my channel tomorrow, 7:30, from Dial Square to Where for more of the same. We're going in depth on the game and a lot of the individual players and their performances tomorrow. Really looking forward to that. So yeah, come and join us at 7:30 from Dial Square to Where.
Yep. And everyone else in the chat, thanks for popping in. Even the ones that just popping in the last 20 odd minutes or just popping in now in terms of Gary. Where have you been all night, Gary? What's going on? You're meant to be a mod. Oh dear. But yeah, thanks to everyone that's popped in and kept the chat going as well. Put your thoughts in the chat as well about the game and what we all the discussion points and all that. In terms of this week, as well, as I say, I'm on Andrew's channel tomorrow for his podcast. As I say, come and join us for that. And then trying to think on Thursday, it's an early kickoff, isn't it? As well, Thursday, because it's away. So that's gonna be fun organising. Yeah, so I'll be around for that one. And doing in terms of doing a watch along for that, I would then be doing probably a podcast on Friday in previewing for Leeds, and then match of the day on Saturday. Even though we're not playing, keep an eye on our rivals and all that jazz. And then Sunday, the main event, two main events actually. You got the Arsenal v Leeds game. Then you got the Arsenal women back from international break against Reading. So yeah, I'll be doing two watch songs on Sunday. Sorry, I'll be busy bee on Sunday, and then obviously come back on the following Monday for the podcast in reaction to Leeds. No matter what happens there, hopefully Steve will be back as well next week. I think he's on holiday this week, so hopefully he'll be back nice and refreshed and ready to go. Nice and warm in his nice warm house as well, not in the Hawaiian
garage,
hut,
the shed,
garage shed, Melbourne dungeon partial. I don't know, but yeah, the audio for this is going to be up in the next 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how long it takes to download. So if you want to listen to this back on Spotify or any of the other audio platforms, keep an eye out for that in the next half hour. And yeah, if you're listening to it on Spotify as well, give us a rating out of 5. It does help out get the podcast, the audio side of things, notice a lot quicker as well, and a lot more. It'd be massively appreciated. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe, do smash that like button. And the link to memberships is in the description below. And I think it was Colonel who earlier put a link in the chat for the merchandise that we've mentioned already for the channel. Go and check that out as well. Anything you take your fancy to, feel free to purchase and let us know how it comes across, basically. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening, morning, night, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And as always, up the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners.
we are top leagues.